1947, Earl Jones. 1948, Hal McHaney. 1949, John Dalton. 1950, Elbert Ford. 1951, T.M. McCall. What better thing could a city have than a group of men who are working not for their own interest, but for the interest of the town in which they live? It speaks a lot for the men who do this, and do you see pictures on the wall behind me of just such men who have come into this area, who were born in this area many times, and who work for the betterment of this community. We've been listening to several gentlemen who have been past presidents of this chamber, and we're getting to one right here in this studio now who was president in 1975. Now, that's not all that long ago, and I can still remember that far. Your hair's gotten a little grayer, Charles.
Yes, it has.
Charles Brown. Charles, talk to me about the economic climate. Well, first tell me, I know the answer to some of these, but tell me, you're a Kennett native, right?
Right. I was born in St. Louis, and 3 days later I was brought to Kennett.
So you can say almost born and raised in Kennett.
Almost, pretty close to it, right.
But the family, of course, has been in Kennett for long years.
Yes, my grandfather came here from Malden by way of several other communities in
Nesbit
and several other communities, but since he came here, and I don't know how many years ago that was, but our family has been in Kennett and still are in Kennett.
Okay, and now they were businessmen, so you have been raised in the business climate, right?
Right. I was fortunate. I had two great teachers, one my grandfather and the other my father, and both were businessmen. Both were active in the community. Both were president of the Chamber of Commerce and other organizations, and it was just something that was expected of you.
Talk to me about the business climate at that time. What were you doing?
Economically, for the community in general, it was not the best of times as such. It's one of those periods you go through to survive and go on to something better, but it was not the best of economic conditions. My fondest memories of '75 really were long sideburns, plaid suits, and bell-bottom pants on men, and I can look back at some old pictures, and I had long sideburns, and I tried a mustache, and I had a plaid coat. So you know.
And I'm disappointed that you just show up here today.
Well, then 20 years from now, you can look back and say, well, you know, he had a blue coat. That's totally out of style today. We're back to plaid. So. You know,
All right. Now, of course, Charles is mayor of the city of Kennett, and as such, you have seen the inner workings of the city. But in 1975, what industries were here? What things were?
Same things we have now. I might say that the biggest thing going on in 1975, from the community standpoint, which really had one of the longest reaching effects we ever had, we had a special commission appointed that year by Dr. Harry Goddard. And the commission was to look into three things in the community. I chaired the commission, so
you can.
But we looked at three things. We looked at one, sources of revenue, and that's where the sales tax for the city of Kennett came out of that commission study. We looked at forms of government. We recommended at that time, the commission did, that we change the form of government to a city manager, professional type of management. That has not come about. We looked at expanding the city limits of Kennett. That has come about. So out of the commission's three areas that we were charged to look into, two of them came to fruition. And I thought it was a major step, especially the sales tax, because in '75 we still had revenue sharing, where the federal government made a direct rebate back to the city. So, and then, I don't remember the year the revenue sharing went out, but not many years after that, and then the sales tax came in, which is, of course, the city's biggest source of income now is from the sales tax. So the committee's work on a sales tax and additional revenue for the city, you know, is still paying off today, which I guess goes to say that sometimes you start things on a small scale that affects you way, way down the line, and that commission did. I was very proud of the commission. The commission was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good business people on it. We spent a lot of hours in the basement of the Methodist Church meeting and discussing.
But do you remember who else was on there with you, or some of the other people on that commission?
Paul Storer was on there. Okay, it was a cross-section with practically all the chamber presidents, past presidents were on there.
Oh, okay.
You might say all the business leaders, I guess you would say business and community leaders were on the commission in one form or another. I have forgotten the exact number we had on there. There were 3 different subcommittees, one on economics, one on the expansion of the city limits, and one on forms of government. Dolph Riggs Sr. was on there.
Charles, is there usually a lot of opposition to the expansion of the city limits? Was that true in this case?
No, there wasn't. It was a matter of where you go to, and really the reason to expand the city limits was really to increase the population and to take in those people around the city who were actually using the city as a basis, but did not pay property taxes, that dirty word, for the city's services. In other words, who used the city streets, who used the fire department, if it was called out, would come to their house, but still did not have a direct cost for running of the city. No, there's no great opposition to it. In fact, since that time, we've had a lot of people who have wanted to be annexed to the city. The main reason for that has been because of the utility costs. They want to be part of our local utility costs and lower their utility rates. So we've had a lot of annexation, a voluntary annexation, people coming in and saying, this neighborhood, we've signed our petition, we'd like to join the city, the city limits.
So you have people wanting in, areas of the city wanting in. When you, as president of the chamber, talk to industries, is that one of the big selling points, the utilities and the price of utilities?
It is in our mind because we have the lowest utility rates in the state of Missouri and in our community.
In the state of Missouri?
Right. I think maybe New Madrid is the closest town to us, and they're 20% above our rates. I believe that's correct. It's a big selling point as far as we're concerned. Of course, it's a big selling point for me and for you when you pay your utility bills, because if they were 20% more, that'd be another X dollars a month you have to spend for cost of living. It has not been that great a factor with the location of industry. On their checklist, the cost of power is not their number one priority.
What is their number one priority?
It varies with different people, different companies, depending upon what they do. They look at the workforce, the availability of trained workers now especially. A new factory comes into your community, they want to start working tomorrow, they want productive workers tomorrow, so they look for a trained workforce.
Does the chamber keep an updated survey of the workforce?
Fortunately now, with the Missouri Department of Employment, they're online with a computer, and so their statistics are, you can call in tomorrow and now they have a printout of what the available labor is in your community, what type of labor.
Was that true in your day? Could you?
No, we couldn't. We went down and they had the records. It took a little while longer. We had a great relationship with the employment. I think Jim Story, I believe, was running the employment office at that time. We had a great relationship with him, and we're always proud to, if we had an existing industry, to send them down there to talk to them about the labor force, because the labor force in Kennett has always been a strong selling point. The quality of labor, the work ethic is still here, so it's been a strong selling point as to the quality of labor we have to offer a new or an expanding industry in our community.
What about what you're seeing the chamber do is bringing more industry? Do you think they are still a major player in this?
I think they're our greatest major player. We work very closely with the chamber. The chamber is our economic development arm for the city of Kennett. We have always had a good relationship with the chamber, with the economic development from the city and the chamber, and with the other industries in the community about economic development. The chamber is out front. It's a place that the majority of the contacts are made about new industry, about our industry wanting to expand. We try to assist local industry if at all possible, if they have special needs that we can assist them with. We try to assist them with actually the same process that's gone on for industrial recruitment since the chamber was started. The tools are different, the names are different, but it's still the same process.
Charles, what about the industrial park?
Well, the industrial park was an idea that had been floating around since before I was even chamber president, and I don't remember the year it came to fruition that we actually established the park. I do remember going to the city council and the city had excess money on hand, or not, they had funds on hand, and I presented an idea to the city that they should buy the excess land of Uniroyal, which is the industrial park we have now, from the Uniroyal company. And the council voted that night to spend the, I've forgotten the sum, Rosemary, I apologize, to buy the industrial park. But it had been an idea that, I know Randall Harden was the chamber president chamber executive when I was president. I've still got in my desk at the City Hall a copy of Randall's presentation he made back in the early 70s on an industrial park for Kennett. His location was south of town because there was a natural gas line through it, rail service, and the relocation of the airport to an industrial park. So the idea of an industrial park has been around for
but
many
the
years.
location of where it actually
kind of moved around.
That's moved around. Right. You feel like this has been a real plus?
Well, you have to have, one of the problems Kennett faces is it's landlocked.
Okay.
You don't think about this, but in other words, you have to get out of the flood zone to build in. You have to get on a major highway to get to it. You look around at the industrial property that's available around Kennett, you know, and you say, where can industry go to locate? So we have been kind of landlocked. You can't go south, you know, the highway from 412 or from Kennett through Jones Way to 412. That's limited access highway, so you can't come off that highway and build on farmland. You can't get an entrance way from the highway department.
You mean a big industry couldn't get it?
No. The only way around that, which we've looked into in the past, is for the city of Kennett to the next part of the area, put a street down through there, and then beg the highway department for an access. But it is limited access, so the only entrance ways that are there now are the only ones that can be built on that stretch of highway south of town.
The industrial park became a reality. What about what's out there now?
The first thing in the industrial park was the National Guard Armory. The National Guard was looking for was going to build a new facility, or the Guard was going to leave Kennett, one of the two. So we offered them property, prime property, because it's on the front of the park.
Yes, it is.
And that's where they built the National Guard Armory. Now, I had some misgivings after they built the Armory. I wrote several nasty letters to the Adjutant General. I didn't like the way it looked. I thought it was ugly. And, you know, I was told if the city of Kennett would like to plant trees out there and enhance what it looked like, it'd be fine. But I thought the place was a functional building, but the aesthetics weren't as pleasing as what I thought they would be. And then we had to develop when we developed the park, we had there's a holding pond. Drainage is a problem out there. So the park has a holding pond on there.
Is that purely for drainage?
That's purely to collect water in, right.
So the Armory was first, then the spec building.
The spec building was built. We thought that if we had a building, one of the things industry wants to look, when they look at your community, they say, do you have a building available for us? Or if you don't have one, how long will it take us to get into it? But most of them are ready to move. They're looking to move. They want to start production. So once they make their mind up they're going to relocate a plant or build a new plant, they want to get there, get it done, and get it open. If you've got a spec building, you have a roof up, and in theory, they can come in and even through the winter weather can put a floor in and put the heating and the electric work in and open up their factory. So we built a spec building.
You've been listening to Charles Brown. He was president of this Kennett Chamber of Commerce in 1975, and he talks about some of the problems then, or some of the problems now. But Charles, thank you for coming out and sharing with us.
You have been watching Time for Talk. Time for Talk is a community betterment service designed to cooperate with our local community betterment program. Each evening, Monday through Friday at this time, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community.